Hey, Kat Chancellor here with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I have another one of these never-ending cards, but I'm going to be using the Horse and Sleigh Bundle with some of the DSP. This is just a lovely card that you can make. It's not hard, but what I love about it is, once again, this DSP just lends itself to this card. You can open it up. You have these wonderful scenes. See, here's our little rabbit. And you can also add some other paper and embellishments to finally come up with the back with our Saint Nick paper that you can add a message. So just a really lovely, it's not hard to put together. Probably the most challenging part is going to be putting together the horse and sleigh, but I have some directions on how we're going to color it. I'm using both watercolor pencil, and I'm also using our stamping blends to kind of give you some ideas with doing this particular front piece, which comes with the dies that cut out the figure, but additional to that, there's some extra pieces of dies that cut out the sled skis for the sleigh, and as well as some other pieces to embellish it. So what you're going to need to put this together is you're going to need, of course, some basic white cardstock if you're going to use stamping blends to build your sleigh, or I'm using some watercolor paper and some of the watercolor pencils, and I'll kind of have the list of what colors I'm using later on, or you can find it on my StampArtConnection.com blog. You're also going to need the paper that comes with this set. It's called One Horse Open Sleigh, and again, what I love about it is just all the different types of scenes that really lend itself to this 6x6 card called the Never Ending Card, and it's really beautiful. Now, you know that I made another card similar to this using some of the autumn paper, so this should be a very easy step up now, kind of using what we learned in the last tutorial that I put together to put together a more holiday centric card. I'm also using some of this 12 by 12 specialty paper that has come out and is part of the Traditions of Saint Nick, and this is 12 by 12, and I just simply cut it down to 6 by 6 so I could use it, but it's got some really lovely patterns that I want to take advantage of, primarily when you kind of get through these wonderful little peaceful scenes and you open it up. There's this holiday cheer with candy canes and gingerbread men, and then I'm using, to bling it up a little bit, the loose holly gems and sequins, and you can see how it just kind of gives it just a little bit extra pizzazz. And then on the back I'm using the Santa, and then there's this lovely, I just love this pattern that comes here in the back. You can see that lovely kind of red pattern, and then we have a Santa Claus that we've used for the front, and I'm using basic black cardstock embossing with white embossing powder. Now, I will tell you that when I don't have a good stamp, I am taking advantage of something like my paper pumpkin. So I think I talked about this, but this is how I store my paper pumpkins. I have these neat little envelopes. This was the idea of my sister, and I have my stamps kind of folded in there, and in this case I'm using this Merry Christmas stamp, and it just makes sure that you have, just make sure that you have additional sentiments that you can kind of draw upon. So if you're not a subscriber for Paper Pumpkin, you're missing out, because you really do get some extra crafting supplies with your paper pumpkin after you put together that you can always apply to your other products, okay, or your other projects rather. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. To stamp my image, I'm using any kind of stamping platform. In this case, this is a Stamparatus. I'm using about a 3" by 5.5" piece of basic white cardstock using Memento black ink, since I will be using my stamping blends on this example. If you were going to use any watercolor pencils, you would want to stamp using StazOn black ink with watercolor paper. I'm going to pull in some colors. Primarily, I'm using the Smoky Slate Light and Dark. I'm also using Real Red and Cherry Cobbler, as well as Balmy Blue and some light and dark black. I usually start out with just kind of coloring my base color. In this case, my sleigh is going to be a light smoky slate, so I'm going to go ahead and fill all that in with that kind of a base color. I'm going to color the horse, but I'm going to color portions of the horse. It's not all going to be gray, and then I'm going to accent it with some of the darker smoky slate color, which you can see me doing here. This is where you kind of add your dimension onto your image. Primarily the horse is like the inside of the fetlocks and kind of along the belly where you want to have the darkest color. I also have some dark and light black, which I'm going to use to kind of fill in along the fringe on his hoof, his tail, his mane, and then some of the black on his hoofs. I'm using the Cherry Cobbler and Balmy Blue, light and dark, just to kind of set off the clothing that the sleigh riders are wearing, as well as some early espresso and pecan pie, because there's a couple of satchels that are sitting in their sleigh that I think there's like some snowshoes and maybe a bag, so I want to kind of differentiate that. The Stamping Blends Flesh Colors is SU 1000 for the face colors, and then I'm just kind of going back and adding just a little bit more dimension to the figure. Once you're happy with your image, I go ahead and I use my mini stamping emboss and cut machine, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it using the die. Here I'm just simply adding a little bit more, just some more color to my images as I kind of put them all together. Now I'm using some pecan pie just for, this is on watercolor paper and these are watercolor pencils. Just want to show you the difference. Here I'm just kind of using early espresso. I've got pecan pie, just kind of adding the color to the different parts of the horse. I've left some of the horse white. You don't always have to color everything when you're using watercolor. I'm using Cherry Cobbler for my sleigh. I kind of start out with a light color and then I go ahead and I add a shadow with a pressing harder on the pencil. I'm using crushed curry, some Granny Apple Green for the clothing, and I'm going to do a technique here I'll show you in a minute where after I kind of blend it in using one of my blending water brushes. I have a tissue or a paper towel there because I just want to control the amount of water. I just want to blend the colors, and if there's too much water, I can use my paper towel to kind of blot some of it off. Again, I'm going to kind of go into the darker part, and then I'm going to kind of spread the lighter color to where the white is, because I just kind of want to have a tint of color, and I'm just kind of blending everything together using my paper towel to kind of make sure I blot. I don't have too much water on my image. Again, just kind of blending the granny apple green, and then I'm going to add a little bit. This is the cherry cobbler. Just kind of, again, you can always layer, but you have to be careful. You don't want to layer too much. I'm making a plaid on her lap, the blanket, by just simply using some darker green, and I'm just adding that right directly over the watercolor wash that I've already put on her using granny apple green. So you can kind of see how I was able to kind of change that up. Again, I'm just kind of going to kind of color in the entire sleigh. I'm going to add my darker color using maybe a real red or a cherry cobbler. I'm using the granny apple green for the clothing, and then I'm using crushed curry for the jacket there, and a little bit of crushed curry for the fur and the hat. I'm showing here how I'm just kind of filling it in with some of my pecan pie on my horse, and then I'm using my early espresso to do his mane, the tail, and the fetlocks there on the bottom. Then I'm going to use my blending brush, and I'm just going to kind of blend it in nicely so that you kind of no longer kind of see the pencil marks, but you begin to kind of have like a nice smooth color. You don't have to color everything again, as I said. You can kind of have some open space there. Then I just kind of wet it so that all the color kind of comes together. Now that I've demonstrated several ways to color the horse and sleigh, let's go ahead and focus on how we can use the DSP to build our backgrounds for this never-ending card. Okay, I've done another video on how to make the mechanism, right? This is the mechanism for the never-ending card. I would refer to that video, but to understand how to make this mechanism, because I go into it in a lot of detail. So now that I've had my mechanism complete, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my 6x6 cardstock, and I'm going to cut it so that it's going to fit right on top. You're going to cut 2 3/4, and then you're going to cut another 2 3/4, and you're just going to have this little sliver on the edge. We're going to just put that aside. We don't need that. So now I have 2 3/4, 2 panels, 2 3/4, and they are going to go, you can see how, here's my example, they're going to fit nicely on the front of our card. So now I'm going to put these together, and I'm going to turn it this way because I'm going to now cut this top panel here, and I'm going to do this by cutting this 1 1/4 or 1.25. So 1 1/4. I'm just going to put that there, and I'm going to cut. And then I need a piece that's going to be 2 3/4 square, which is going to be our next piece. So I'm going to go over here to 2 3/4. This is square, and then I need my bottom panel 1 1/4, so I'm going to bring this up to here, and we're going to cut that right there, 1 1/4, and we're going to throw this piece away because now I have, and let me grab my panel here. Now I have my panel where I have these two at the top, these two will go in the center, and then these two are going to go at the bottom, right there. Okay, so that is the front of my card. Alright, so let's go ahead and glue those down, and then we're going to cut the rest of our panels. I just think it's easier if you just go ahead and glue them right away. Otherwise, I have gotten kind of lost in all the stuff that I was doing, and I've mixed up my panels, and then I've had trouble trying to reconstruct it. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue these right here. Okay, so now I have that. Now we're going to open it up this way, and this is where you want to kind of understand a little bit of what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my bone folder has creased these nicely. Yeah, there we go. Okay, in this example, I'm using another scene, and then I have my little rabbit and I have a sentiment. I really like this, but I think I'm going to maybe use this scene here. Or I could use this scene, only the problem with this paper is that it cuts the little deer right off. So I don't really want to go with this paper. So I think I'm going to go with this paper right here. Now again, we're going to, when we open this up, we're going to have another set of paper pattern right there, and that's going to be kind of how we're going to do that. Now to cut this piece, we're going to cut, this is going to be 1 1/4, 2 1/4, and then we're going to have the 1 1/4 edge. So let's bring in our cutter. So I'm going to cut 1 1/4, and if you want to check, we can check twice there. 1 1/4 right there. Okay, so I'm doing 1 1/4 strip right there. Then this is going to be 2 3/4 panel, and then this is going to be another 1 1/4 right there, and we can put this piece aside. Alright, so basically I've cut for my inside, I've cut this piece that I'm now going to cut square, and then I've cut these two pieces here that I'm going to cut in the panels that I need. I'm going to bring in my little cutter here, because what I'm going to need is this panel is going to be I'm going to cut a little bit of this off because I don't need as much sky. So this panel is going to be 2 3/4, and 2 3/4. And there's my panel. There's my panels right there. It shows my little house. Okay, then these, I'm going to bring these two together because I'm going to cut. This is going to be, I believe it's going to be 1 1/4 square. Yep. So I want this to be 1 1/4 square, and that is for this and this. And then I'm going to want this to be 2 3/4, and that's going to be that and that. And then this is going to be 1 1/4 square. And that's going to be that and that. Okay, so now that I have those pieces cut, we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue them down. Okay, so that's our inside. Now we're going to open this, and this is where we're going to take our gingerbread paper, and we're going to add some of this gingerbread paper in here as kind of like, you know, grandmother goes through the woods, over the woods and through over the hills and through the woods we go, and then on the inside we kind of have this neat beginning to kind of see all the great things that happen at Christmas. So this is going to be cut. We're going to have a strip of 1 1.25. I think I'm going to have to bring in this cutter. So this is going to be 1 1/4 here. And then 1 1/4 here. Okay, so now I'm going to use my other cutter, because these are the two pieces that are going to go like this. So I'm going to put this together, and we're going to cut this one. That's 1 1/4 square. It's a little easier to do on this itty bitty little guillotine. Let's see. 1 1/4 square. So that's going to be that and that. And then this is going to be 2 3/4 long. And that's going to go there and there. And then this is going to be 1 1/4 square. And that's going to go there and there. And we're going to put these two pieces here aside. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's glue our pieces on. Okay, so now we open it up to the last. This is the back. So this is where I want to use a panel of this, and this is going to be cut 1 1/4 square, and here's my example right here. That's going to be, rather, it's going to be 1 1/4, 2 3/4. I got 2 panels, and then I have a red panel, red cardstock here, and then I have my Santa right there. So I'm going to take this piece here, which I think I can cut. That's going to be 2 3/4. That's going to go right there. I think I can cut 1 1/4 right there for this piece. Can't do it with that either. A little bit short on this one as well. Alright, I'm going to put these aside because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this 1 1/4 straight down, and we're going to cut it 2 3/4, 2 3/4, and then I have to cut one more piece. Let's see, 1 1/4. 2 3/4. Okay, so that takes care of those panels right there. So I'm going to put this paper aside, and what I'm going to do is then cut my Santa Claus, and I want my Santa Claus, I like this red Santa right here, so that he can go. Let's go ahead and cut him 2 3/4, right? Because this is going to be square. So let's go ahead and cut our square here 2 3/4, and then I'll just go ahead and cut this Santa right about here. And then this is going to be 2 3/4 squared right there, and he's going to go right there. So that leaves a piece of what, cherry cobbler, and I'm going to cut this cherry cobbler. Is going to go right there. I'm going to cut this 2 3/4 square. And that's going to go right there. And then I don't want to forget to cut a piece of white cardstock that's going to go right in there. So that is, let's see, that is 2 3/4. It's about 2 1/2. So I can cut this 2 1/2 square, and I think I'll be good right there. Okay, so I've got those pieces. So let me put this aside, and then let's go ahead and let's glue these pieces here. I think it goes well with that paper. Okay, so now we have everything done. So we're going to grab the sleigh that we're going to use for this. I have this one and this one. I kind of like that one. Put these aside for now. Now what we're going to do here is I'm going to grab this piece that goes here and this piece that goes here. I'm going to use a piece of silver with these two pieces here, and this already has some multi-purpose adhesive sheet on the back. Okay, so now that kind of has a nice, I don't know, I think it's got a nice green to it. Now I have these foam adhesive sheets. I'll grab foam adhesive sheet. Now the foam adhesive sheet is really key to this project, because what you're going to do is, instead of placing your horse and sleigh on dimensionals, we're going to use the foam adhesive sheet to create a nice balanced front for our never-ending card. Now, since the foam adhesive sheet is shorter than the length of our die, you're going to have to cut maybe twice and kind of piece together. As you can see what I'm doing here, kind of piecing together the horse and the sleigh so that I have a seamless piece of foam across my image. Okay, that lined up nicely. Okay, so why we did that was because when we put this here, we're going to cut this in half because our card's going to open up. So that's going to go there. And all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cut this. As best as I can. You see that? Just go ahead and cut around it. And all we have to do is peel the back off of this. And I'm going to place it right to the edge of that paper. See? And then we'll just put this and there you go. Okay, and then I have this little piece I'm going to put right there, from our home to yours. Alright, but then I need to open this one up and I'm going to grab these stamps here. Okay, you can see how nice this is turning out. We got all kinds of nice bling inside here, and then Merry Christmas. So what I want to do for this one is you have to be careful because I did a lot of stuff, so it's a little bit, you got to kind of watch that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab these adhesive back snowflakes. Okay, so there you go. I'm using the Horse and Sleigh Bundle, and I have created, using this wonderful one horse open sleigh DSP and the Traditions of Saint Nick DSP, as well as some other embellishments such as these wonderful little adhesive back snowflakes. I've made these lovely cards. It opens beautifully to a peaceful setting. We've kind of blinged up the middle here, and then we have our Santa Claus for our sentiment. And then I've also, using my stamping blends, I have colored my horse and sleigh. I've used some of this foam adhesive sheet and to kind of place my horse and sleigh on, and then again some of these wonderful little snowflakes. Open it up. I have another winter scene, and I have blinged it up with some snowflakes. And I may have gone a little overboard here, but I did bling this up a little bit. And then I have my back, and of course my front. So there you are with the never-ending card, using all the kinds of different embellishments from the mini catalog to create this wonderful card. What's nice about it is that it also stands up, so you can stand up, and it has or you can have your nice sentiment as well. If you haven't already, please hit like. All products are available in my online store. There'll be a link below, as well with all the different directions for this video. Additionally, there are other project ideas at my blog, and if you're looking for a demonstrator, please consider joining my team, or consider joining as a hobbyist, as many of you have, and I'm so happy to be welcoming some demonstrator hobbyists who joined for $64 last month and are going to be enjoying a wonderful 20% discount on any of their orders. If you are a demo and like my content, please support my channel by hitting like, share, and leave a comment. This is Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection at stampartconnection.com. Happy stamping.